Well, hello everyone, this is CJ with Cycletron. A couple of months ago, I've done my most popular video to date, which was why Harley Davidson should F off. And so I thought, in fairness, I ought to look at why Polaris should F off. I mean, I've done a couple of videos, critical a little bit of some of the aspects of Indian motorcycles. I really do like Indian motorcycles. I like a variety of brands and just love riding in general. But what really surprised me about some videos that I've done that said anything at all critical about maybe how some of the bikes were set up for a Indian demo ride, just got a huge backlash in the comments section. So, sometimes I thought some of the Harley fans had thin skin, but apparently nothing like some of the Indian fans out there. But we'll test that with this video. Please let me know what you think in the comments section. I mean, I like to just lay it out how I view things, very straightforward fashion. So again, let me know your thoughts. So for background, Polaris started with making snowmobiles. They're a big multinational, well-diversified company. You can really think of them as a modern version of AMF. If you recall, AMF made bowling equipment, a lot of outdoor recreation equipment. They owned Harley through the 70s and early 80s. Polaris is much the same way. They got into manufacturing street motorcycles with the Victory brand that ran from 1998 to 2017. And of course, Polaris owns Indian motorcycles. They started production of Indian motorcycles in 2013. But let me go through some things that I think you should really think about in terms of Polaris. First of all, the way they handled shutting down Victory was pretty rough. I remember looking at a brand new Victory motorcycle in the fall of 2016. I was actually thinking about picking one up. I held off, and lo and behold, they dropped an announcement on everybody saying, "Hey, we're shutting it down. Sorry, dealers. Sorry, people who've bought these. People who had them took an instant resale hit." It was a really innovative brand of motorcycles. They had a lot of technology. They were bringing out liquid cooled models. In many ways, they were higher tech and better performing than many Harley Davidson motorcycles. The problem is Polaris found that with Victory, they just could not out Harley. In their roughly 20-year production run, they pretty well closely guard their total production numbers, but it sounds like they made fewer than 175,000 motorcycles for Victory in their entire production. So maybe fewer than 10,000 motorcycles a year. Of course, in 2021, Harley produced 185,000 motorcycles. It's unfortunate, but the way they handled that whole shutdown thing, I thought was pretty rough on a lot of people. They said, well, we'll guarantee you parts for another 10 years. But other than that, we're out of here. So I think that was kind of scummy, honestly. So they decided to shut down Victory in order to really get going with the Indian name. So they purchased the Indian name in 2011. The first Indian motorcycle was produced under Polaris in 2013. They have really nothing to do with the original company, despite their marketing that says Indian since 1901. Of course, the original Indian company ran from 1901 to 1953, and they make it sound like they're the modern incarnation of that company that started production 2 years before Harley, and that's just completely bogus. But for whatever reason, Polaris decided, we really can't go toe-to-toe with Harley, with our Victory line of motorcycles. Let's go the nostalgia route, and we'll buy Indian, and we'll go that way. And Indian motorcycles are good. I've considered buying a bike from Indian on more than one occasion. Oddly enough, my favorite motorcycles are like the Challenger or the FTR that really have a lot of Victory DNA. I'm not a fan of the other touring bikes and cruisers. They're overstyled for me. The styling just doesn't match my taste, but that's just me. I know some people love them. I sometimes wonder if there's a running gag going on with Indian Motorcycle to see how many Indian head logos they can get on a given model without getting any backlash from customers. I mean, I think it's got to be in the teens, almost 20 instances of the Indian name and logo on some of their motorcycles. I mean, just way over the top. And some of these models that have a lot of fringe on them. I mean, again, not my thing. So I mentioned Victory Motorcycle that had a lot of great technology, particularly relative to Harley Davidson. Liquid cooled models, really superior infotainment and navigation systems. And Harley's catching up. They've got the same type of infotainment systems now. They're introducing liquid cooled models. And Polaris, for their part, has started coasting on the new technology. I don't know why, as a much smaller company, they haven't embraced increasing the rate of introduction of technology that they did in the early going. So I think they've kind of coasted a little bit on the technology, and they're losing a lot of their competitive edge. And Harley's catching up and passing them by at their own game, quite honestly, as far as these technological innovations. So the other thing I'd like to say is a lot of people are upset with Harley Davidson. I've been upset with them as a company and many of their dealers. I don't know that Indian dealers are really that different. Tell me in the comments section. I just don't have an experience buying a motorcycle from an Indian dealer. If the shady salesmanship games go on there at Indian dealerships or not. The fact is there's just far fewer Indian motorcycle dealers in the country than Harley Davidson dealers. And to that end, Indian really is not a viable alternative on a mass scale to Harley Davidson. Let's go back to 2021. It was a record year for Indian motorcycles. They produced around 35,000 motorcycles. Harley's been trending down and deliberately the last few years in their production numbers. So they produced around 185,000 motorcycles in 2021. So Harley outsells Indian easily 5-1 here in the US. So if for whatever reason Harley Davidson winked out of existence tomorrow, there's no way Polaris would pick up the slack and everyone would suddenly buy Indians instead of Harleys. It's just not an option. I think right now there are 194 Indian dealers in the United States, and most of those are in Texas, Florida, and California. There's at least a dozen states that have no Indian dealerships at all. You're not going to get the kind of support with an Indian motorcycle as you would with Harley Davidson's network of 600 dealerships across the country. The other thing I've been critical about Indian motorcycles is they just can't seem to get their paint quality anywhere close to the paint quality that you would have on a Harley Davidson motorcycle. Harley shut down the Kansas City plant in 2019, and that plant had a paint booth that was worth $30 million. And that plant ended up selling for like $20 million to be some type of distribution center for exercise equipment. And I think I made a video one time joking about how Indian should have bought that factory just for the paint booth so they can make bikes with better paint quality. But they seem to compensate or attempt to compensate by just some really what I would consider rather garish paint schemes. Like I came across this particular model at an Indian dealership recently, and to me it looks like a glitter bomb on wheels. Luckily I didn't see this thing in full daylight, but again, not my taste. If you've bought this motorcycle, please enjoy it, but I wouldn't buy this kind of bike. And speaking of personal taste, while I'm talking about Polaris, I just can't wrap my head around the Slingshot. It seems like when I've seen them out on the road, the people driving them are having a great time. So more power to them. To me, it looks like a wannabe Batmobile. I don't know if you get a free utility belt when you buy this Slingshot. Let me know in the comments section if you did get one and got a free utility belt or other Batman-like accessories. But my big ding on this vehicle is it combines all the disadvantages of a car to the disadvantages of a motorcycle relative to rider protection or lack thereof. Apparently it's not up to snuff on safety standards. That's why most states classify it as a motorcycle, because I don't think it's been adequately crash tested or couldn't pass a crash test to any significant degree. So many states require a motorcycle endorsement to operate the Slingshot on public roads. I know they were trying to fight that and get that changed, but not exactly a confidence booster there if you're trying to get something like a Slingshot thinking it's safer than a motorcycle. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video and appreciate it for the spirit in which it was intended. Just fair play, really, because haven't really talked about Indians that much, or Polaris in general. Nothing against them as a company at all. I'm glad we have the choices that we do relative to a wide range of motorcycles and motorcycle manufacturers. I talk about Harley a lot because I think they're a way more interesting company, but certainly there's some things with Polaris that I think bear examination. So again, please let me know your thoughts in the comments section, and please stay tuned for future videos. Thanks very much.